Hey everybody, it's MJ.
Hey.
And we just got back from a convention.
Yeah,
So,
we're still pretty tired.
yeah.
I'm pretty tired.
But we haven't been online much in the past few days.
Mm-hmm.
So we just found out about this new Thundercats reboot from Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
And there's already been a lot of reaction to it. And we just wanted to give our first thoughts on it. Mm-hmm. We watched the announcement trailer and...
we've seen it a few times now.
So we didn't exactly grow up with Thundercats. Mm-hmm. We did see the original series on Toonami.
Yeah.
And we also watched the 2011 Thundercats while it was airing.
Yeah, we watched through all the hiatuses.
Yeah.
Through trying to figure out what time it was on. We even watched the very last episode air.
Yeah.
That they made.
Yeah. And it was really good. It had its problems.
Yeah.
But it was very good.
It was a good show, but...
it was canceled before. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, there was already the issues with the hiatuses and trying to figure out what time it was even on. But...
yeah, they didn't promote the show that well.
Right. But the show itself, like, when it was good, it was really good. Mm-hmm. But then those problems really did end up holding it back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can't ignore that it did have problems.
Yeah. I don't want to get into it because of spoilers, but... maybe someday we'll review that show.
Yeah, I'd really like to do that. But with this show, I've seen a lot of people who are defending it, saying things like, well, you gotta give it a chance. We haven't even, it's 2019. So, all we have is this announcement trailer. And I get that. But the thing is, I'm seeing red flags.
Yeah.
You're seeing red flags.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
The thing is, we can't really pretend that we're not seeing red flags, because if you do that, you're just gonna end up with more problems.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2011 show had problems, and it
ended up getting canceled.
So who's to say that this show will just sail by, regardless of any issues?
I don't know if maybe they're trying to go for a much younger audience like Teen Titans Go does.
Yeah.
Because we have issues with Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, but
it's obvious
it's working.
Yeah, it's working for Cartoon Network, so maybe they're just trying to...
yeah, I mean, Cartoon Network is probably just trying to make something that
will be profitable again.
Yeah. They can pump out pretty easily, but that might work for Teen Titans Go, but I mean, I'm seeing red flags in this announcement trailer that I don't think Teen Titans Go actually has, even though I don't really like Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, that's true.
Why don't we start talking about
those problems?
These flags we're seeing. So here's the thing. The first problem we gotta talk about, and I know that you're probably gonna roll your eyes, but just hear us out. The animation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we really have to talk about this animation. Like, I know a lot of people are right off the bat gonna say, oh, this is just a Steven Universe knockoff. This is Tumblr.
Mm-hmm.
This is Tumblr art style.
And it does kind of call back to that, definitely.
I mean, it's
it
round
looks like
and
it,
squishy.
But there are other issues with it, too.
Yeah, I mean, like, the first thing that I am seeing that I don't know I've seen with other art styles that are kind of similar to Steven Universe or, like, even Tumblr-ish are these weird lines that are all over the characters.
It makes them look very shiny and almost like they're made of rubber.
Yeah, like if you look at, okay, for example, Lion-O. We saw a little bit of animation with Lion-O and we heard his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Lion-O is a Thundercat, so he is supposed to be covered in fur.
Yeah,
right?
He's a cat man.
Yeah. So, like, you look at his hair, because I think that's the easiest way to see what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, his hair, he has his outline, but there's also, like, these, like, blue lines that kind of follow the outline, and they just look, like, shiny.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it look like it's kind of plasticky or rubbery or, like, stretchy. And I just don't know if that works with, like, what's supposed to be fur. And the thing is, these lines are, like, all over the characters.
Yeah.
Not just Lion-O.
It makes them look kind of like toys.
Yeah, it's just very strange. And I don't know if they were trying to go for like shine lines. Or
to be honest, it doesn't look like a Thundercat to me.
Yeah, like it looks like some kind of toy.
Yeah.
Or like, it's really like really jarring.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think that's a problem. And maybe some people are like, oh, well, that's not a big deal. That's nothing, But I feel like it's really hurting what what I think they should be trying to go for. Like, you're supposed to be going for fur. Like, I don't have a problem if they want to make an art style that's easy to draw, because they're gonna have to make like a bunch of episodes, and animation's really hard.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not trying to say that you have to have really complicated character designs that you're gonna get stuck drawing over and over again. We get that, but I don't understand this choice, and I feel like it's just more things to draw. Like, why would you want to get stuck drawing all these ridiculous lines that I think hurt the character design?
Yeah.
I mean, the designs themselves, I'm not a fan of, because the proportions are kind of strange. Like, Lionel's arms are really long. They're like longer than his legs, and they're longer, like they're about as long as his whole like torso, and
the anatomy on this character
is just really weird.
And every time he moves, things get exaggerated.
Yeah, but like it's like every time he moves. It's not like, sometimes with animation you exaggerate.
It's normal
certain
to do
things,
that.
Like certain frames are exaggerated for emphasis. Mm-hmm. But like every single move is a little weird, and the characters just look kind of bloated on top of that. Like the proportions are already kind of all over the place, plus they just look kind of bloated. It's not all that pleasing. Like, I honestly think that you can do simple, cute designs that are at least nice to look at. And
like the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, I mean, they were round, and they weren't very complicated. They were just kind of like shapes.
Yeah, that were all put together.
Yeah, but
basic shapes.
But it worked because they didn't have these weird issues, because like their heads were big, but everything else was sort of
a lot smaller.
Yeah, like it was basically like their heads.
They had their proportions, even though they're not anatomically correct. At all, but they had their proportions, and they were consistent with those.
Yeah,
proportions.
And they worked. They had those proportions as like their rule, and they stuck with it basically.
Yeah, but for Thundercats Roar, that doesn't seem to be the case at all.
Yeah, I just don't understand all these design choices, and I think that is something that's going to hurt the characters, because it's one thing for people to complain like, hey, we've seen this art style a lot. I mean, it's all over, Tumblr, for example. A lot of Cartoon Network shows are doing these kinds of easier,
like back in the
styles.
90s, all the shows were stylized, like Dexter's Laboratory and Powerpuff Girls, and so on and so forth, but you could tell that they were distinct. Yeah. And they were interesting and different to look at. But
I guess this kind of like style that they've been using is kind of bleeding together.
A little bit, yeah.
And I understand why people maybe just don't want to see too much of that anymore.
Yeah.
But, again, I don't blame the artists. I understand that they're stuck drawing these characters a lot over and over again, and it is what it is. But we don't want to, turn the audience off to your show right away with an unpleasing art style.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to have, these kinds of, maybe Steven Universe-y style shows, but it's another thing to, make these weird design choices that are maybe gonna turn people off even more. So that was maybe the first issue, the first red flag, and I hope that we, explained what we're thinking, and we're not just coming off as haters who are like, oh, these Tumblr art styles.
Yeah, that's not what we're trying to do.
Yeah. We're just trying to talk about why we are a little concerned. I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit curious. I want to know if they have characters like Pumaira in this show.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But, okay, let's move on to the second one. So the second red flag that we have is in this announcement trailer, they talked a lot about cool. They wanted the show to be cool, but I am not really seeing a lot of, cool.
Yeah, not at all.
And I know that's kind of hard to, define and explain, because really what is cool? Though, okay, we see Lion-O talking, and he introduced himself, and he's like, I'm Lion-O, and I'm the star of this new show, Thundercats Roar, and then
he gets all concerned about people not knowing what a Thundercat is.
Yeah, and so, the thing is, in the background, there's all these, little noises.
Yeah, people have been saying that it's the Wayne's World.
Yeah, there's, that doodle-doodle-doodle, sort of thing.
Yeah,
what Baymax does when he's trying to do, the fist bump with the explosion.
Yeah.
Those noises, that's not cool. Maybe, you could argue it's comedic, but I don't know if it's my style
I'm
of comedy.
seeing way more comedy, or trying to be comedic in this trailer than any kind of action or cool, which is, what they said they were concerned about with most, being funny and being action-oriented and being cool cool.
Yeah, so I mean,
but every time they talk about it too, he's saying that they want action, but then they showed a picture of Lion-O surrounded by hearts, and that was a really weird choice on the editing part because that's not action at all. Like, it's this very cutesy drawing.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about how they want cool, they want comedy, and they want action. But we didn't really see any action, first of all. So they said, like, for every comedic thing they do, they want to take, like, 2 steps of action. And, like...
That wasn't evident in the trailer.
I didn't see any evidence of that. Yeah, like, we saw, like, comedy, which I guess this is their style of comedy.
Yeah, I mean, comedy is subjective. Yeah.
But, you know, if that's what they want to go with, if they want to go with like these silly background noises, which I kind of feel are just a little distracting, but if that's what they want to go with, then fine. But then, like, why didn't they show action in this announcement trailer? Because they said there's going to be more action than comedy.
Yeah, that's another thing.
But we didn't see any action. I mean, like, they showed us the intro. We'll talk about that later. But whatever. It's just a little, like...
Yeah, they said that the intro had to be cool, too. But that intro
We're going to talk about that later. That's another point I have. The things that they talked about, what they wanted, I'm not seeing them in this announcement trailer. And the thing about a trailer is it's supposed to make people excited. And it's supposed to show people what this is gonna be, what the show's gonna be. And it's kind of a red flag when they say we want the show to be this, but we're not seeing that. So the next thing we talked, that we kind of feel is a red flag is in this announcement trailer, which was like 3 minutes, maybe 30 seconds long, they talked a lot about cool and action and comedy, but they didn't talk about like plot or characters at all.
Yeah, that was a big problem for me too, because they don't seem to be focusing on the characters at all. I mean, 3 minutes.
We see Lion-O, and he says he's the star of this new show, but then he gets concerned that they don't know what a Thundercat is. Instead of being like, I'm the star of this new show.
These are
all my friends are all these people, you know.
And they're cool because...
Like, he's so concerned about the audience not knowing what a Thundercat is, it kind of makes him look a little conceited, and maybe that shows, like, his character.
Yeah.
But it's a little concerning because it's not like the show is only Lion-O,
and
right?
what's the plot even about?
Yeah.
Like, all they said was they want action and comedy, but like, what's the storyline and why should we care?
Yeah,
you know?
Like, you can't really have comedy without any kind of grounding, you know?
Yeah,
like,
and the thing is, for me, and I know for you too, we care more about characters and plot. You know, all that other stuff is just embellishments.
Yeah, I
or
mean,
it's like frosting on the cake.
You don't need to have like a complicated plot or even complicated characters to have comedy, but you need some of that.
Yeah.
Because you can't like just have a show on comedy because otherwise, like, what's the focus?
Yeah, like, who is this Lion-O? You know, like,
because we know like the original 80s Lion-O has been around for like 30 years, so people know him. The 2011 Lion-O, again.
And he was also his own character, even though he's, you know, clearly based on Lion-O from the 80s version. He's still...
Yeah, the 2011 characters did their own thing.
Yeah, and the plot was different too from the original.
But, I mean, it was still...
It was still Thundercats. It still had that feel of Thundercats, even though it is a very different setting.
Yeah.
But, like, so what's this one? You know, what makes you different, but what also makes you Lion-O?
What makes you Lion-O, what also makes you you?
Exactly.
And it's like, I know they only had like 3 minutes, but I just feel
but they didn't
like,
use that time well at all.
No, instead they just talked about how they wanted this show to be cool.
And this is the show that he would want to see.
And I mean, like...
The producer, would want to see. And, like, that's fine.
Yeah, but we didn't really get to see anything. So it's hard to know what you're talking about because we didn't even see action.
Yeah, not at all.
I mean, you talked about action, and I guess we saw some of the comedy, but I don't know. I don't know these characters. You can't just rely on, like,
nostalgia,
the lore of the old shows and be like, oh, we don't have to explain who these characters are because this is a pre-existing property. But then, like, they also say they're doing their own thing. So we have to be reintroduced to these characters.
Yeah.
But we didn't really get to see that. All we saw was Lion-O, and all we saw is maybe that he's kind of
full of himself. Yeah.
But we didn't get to see any of the other characters, so, you know, we don't know what their relationships are to Lion-O. We don't know anything.
Exactly.
And, you know, again, it's only a 3-minute, but I just feel like they spent a lot of time talking about stuff and not showing anything.
Yeah.
And that's a problem with visual media. Okay, so our 4th red flag. So at one point, point in the announcement trailer, the producer says that the world of Thundercats is really great for comedy because it's so crazy and outlandish and,
and ridiculous.
These things happen. But the thing is, all fantasy and science fiction is kind of crazy and outlandish.
Yeah, that's just the nature of these genres.
Yeah, I mean, they're very much out there compared to our reality, compared to our world.
Yeah, so if you don't take it seriously, then that could be a problem. Like, Lord of the Rings is kind of silly when you think about it.
Like, these hobbits have to go on this epic adventure to throw a ring into a volcano to save the world.
Yeah.
All right, if that's what's going to save the world.
But that's not the point, Fantasy is, even though it's out there, it's still very cool.
Like, you can still have connections to our world, to our reality.
Yeah, just because it's outlandish doesn't mean that
it has to be comedy.
Yeah, like, or silly.
Yeah, you can have comedic elements. Like, I thought Avatar: The Last Airbender, it had a lot of really, serious stuff, but I actually thought that show was very funny.
Yeah, it did. It was really funny.
I thought it had, I wouldn't call it like a comedy show.
Yeah.
But they did,
they had
a lot
humor.
of really great humor, and there's a lot of, like, really awesome moments that people, I think, still laugh at. Mm-hmm. Like the giant mushroom.
Yeah, the cactus juice.
That was great. I mean, so it's not a problem necessarily that they're like, oh, we're gonna have comedy because the show was so crazy and weird with, the settings and the things that happened in the original. But if you reduce all of it to comedy and you take out, like, all the other things, like the characters' virtues and all those things, I think that can end up being a problem. Mm-hmm. The other thing about this was they said the thing that made Thundercats was action.
Yeah, I totally disagree with that.
I mean, the thing is, pretty much all these 80s properties, like Transformers, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, He-Man,
yeah,
they all had a lot of action.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, what makes an action show is the action.
Exactly.
Just because these shows are all action shows doesn't mean, like, it's the action that makes them
defined
shows.
them.
Yeah, action defines an action show. Mm-hmm. But how do these different action shows, like, separate themselves from each other?
It didn't really seem like...
Maybe, like, it's just because this was only 3.5 minutes. Yeah. And they didn't really get the chance.
It'd be like saying Transformers is first and foremost defined by its action.
And its outlandishness.
Yeah, and it's not about the Autobots and the Decepticons.
Like Optimus Prime and
Megatron and their, their rivalry.
Yeah.
And their views for what's best for their species and what's best for their future.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
And, maybe it was just because, like, Cartoon Network's like, okay, you have 3.5 minutes, use a bunch of buzzwords. Yeah. Use action, use comedy, and
that might have been part of it.
Maybe that was it. But it's really hard for us because we've seen how there's a lot of reboots, like the Powerpuff Girls reboot.
Yeah.
I really, really don't like it.
Me neither.
And I know a lot of people don't like it. I know that's not really an unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
But you look at, like, the Voltron Legendary Defenders reboot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really enjoying that.
And Ducktales?
Ducktales has been a really awesome reboot.
Yeah.
It's not like you can't take these old properties and reboot them and do well, because they can do really well. Mm-hmm. We're just seeing a lot of red flags. Mm-hmm. And, we're not trying to be haters. We're not trying to make fun of anybody. And we're not trying to say that if you liked this announcement trailer that you're, like, wrong. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying that we are concerned. Mm-hmm. Because we've seen that reboots can go really, really bad.
And they can go really, really well.
Yeah, and we prefer them to go well. Exactly. Okay, so we're at our fifth and last point, and that is that a lot of this announcement trailer was dedicated to talking about the intro. And he says, the producer says that if you're going to make a Thundercats reboot, the intro has to be good.
A lot of modern cartoons also, they don't really have an intro.
Yeah, so I guess I appreciate that they're trying. They're trying to have an intro. They're not just having, like, a 5-second title card. Yeah. The intro is important because it's going to be like the introduction that people get to this show. Mm-hmm. And, if you get that wrong, people are going to start out on a bad foot. And that's not good.
Yeah, no one wants that.
I don't think the intro is, like, more important than the rest of the show. Mm-hmm. The intro is not more important than characters.
Yeah.
It's not more important than plot. You want a good intro, but it worries me a little bit that they dedicated quite a bit of this announcement trailer to the intro, to talking about the intro, and they didn't talk about characters and plot. I know we talked about that a little bit earlier, but I would have rather actually that they not showed the intro right now. Like, just save that for later and introduce us to the characters and the world and who we're going to be spending this show with. You know what I mean? Like, who are the characters we're going to be following? All we saw was Lion-O. And don't get me wrong, Lion-O is really important. He's the main character. But it's not like the show is just him, unless this show is just him and everyone else is just support for him. And, you know, that would be a little disappointing. But the intro itself, they did show it. And I mean,
wasn't impressed, personally.
It seemed like, I don't know exactly how long it was, but maybe like 15 seconds.
Something like that.
And, like, the thing is, there's so much going on in that intro. And I know if he hadn't said the intro was, like, the history of the Thundercats, I would not have known what was going on. Because it went by so fast, and there was so much crammed into it, that it was like, because he was like, oh, the intro is the history of the Thundercats, which makes sense, because, you know, that's what a lot of intros tends to be. There's a planet, and then all of a sudden their ship's there, it explodes, and then there's space, and then Mamara, and then they crash, and then they're all there, and then there's all these bad guys, and then, like, that's it. It's gone. It's over. It ended as soon as it started. But so many things happened that my brain can't process that.
That's true.
And I understand that they want to have like a short intro because they need time for commercials and they need time to have, you know, an actual episode. But if you're gonna have like a 15-second intro, maybe don't cram so much into it. And then he talked about the music and how the music choice was really important for him. I don't know, the music
Well, the characters or plot are important for me. And
yeah,
we're the people that could potentially be viewers.
There weren't any words. It was all orchestra. And then it ended with like them screaming Thundercats, but like really high pitched. If he likes the music, that's awesome. To me, it was fine. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I wasn't like in love with it either.
Yeah.
So, we've gone for quite a bit. We've talked a lot. That's basically the 5 red flags that we're feeling from this announcement trailer. Again, I know we've said it quite a few times. We're not trying to step on anyone's toes. We're not trying to hate on the people who made it.
Yeah, this was all just our opinions.
Yeah, this was our opinions.
You can feel free to agree or disagree.
Leave in the comments what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're trying to be fair. We're trying to, you know, we're not jumping on any hate wagon or bandwagon. You know, we loved the 2011 show. And some of those episodes were fantastic.
Yeah.
But some of the episodes were also not great. We feel it hurt the show. And we're actually really sad that the 2011 show...
Yeah, if that could have continued, that would have been amazing.
I mean, it ended before its time.
Yeah.
Maybe the show had, like, other problems with scheduling and hiatuses and all that. But we can't ignore that it had problems. And if this show has problems right away from, like, the get-go, that's not boding well for this show either.
Yeah, especially since a lot of people seem to be upset about it. Like, the like to dislike ratio
is very heavily on the dislike side.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even close. It's not even halfway.
It's like over 90%.
Yeah, but we can't just be like, oh, this show isn't anything like the 2011 show, so therefore it's gonna do well. Like, that's not necessarily true.
Because I have seen people saying that, like, because the 2011 show existed, then we shouldn't be complaining about this one.
Just because the 2011 show is canceled, that means that this show is definitely gonna do well. Or just because Teen Titans Go is doing well, that means this show's gonna do well.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't know that. You know, you want to make the show as good as it can possibly be while it's still being the show that you're trying to make. It's fine that it's different, because if it wasn't different, they might as well just do another season of the 2011 show, which, hey, we'd love that.
Yeah, I'd prefer that, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, if this is the direction you want to go in, you don't want to sabotage it right away with bad trailers and bad promotional material. Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate it. I know this has been kind of a long ramble and rant that we went on, but let us know how you're feeling about this new Thundercats show. Is the animation something you're into? Are you feeling this announcement trailer? Are you not? We're willing to hear what you have to say. Thanks so much for watching again, and we will see you next time. Bye!